So my Sea-Doo Challenger 1800 is pulling to the left. I'm constantly having to correct to the right, which means that the boat is constantly in a turn, even though I keep the boat straight. That means that the power that it should be using going straight, it's actually being taken away by the side slip on the draft. So, with that said, that means that one of the pumps, in my case, the left one, is not developing enough thrust as the right one. The right one is developing more thrust, therefore putting the boat into a turn to the left, and I constantly have to correct to the right. Not a big deal. We just have to check the impellers, the O-rings, and those have to be taken out and replaced. That's what I'm working on. Right now, I'm trying to take the buckets out, and I've removed one bolt, and this is what puts the buckets up and down in order to make it go forward, reverse, neutral. And then there's another one right here that I've taken out, and this is the steering. It's what makes the nozzles turn left and right. Okay, so next step is to take the buckets down, and that means I have to take this bolt out, number 2, and then there's 2 more underneath. So since I'm doing this whole work, I might as well and ordered all the parts necessary to rebuild the drive shaft completely on both sides. Get this open up. So the drive shafts are underneath these 2 covers on each side. I've taken the bolts out of this one, so it comes out easy. And if you look there, I've got 2 rubber bushings, some clamps. There's a carbon O-ring that's going to be needed to get changed, and the bellows. And I'm going to do that on both sides. The boat's taking on a little bit of water, which I'm assuming that's where it's coming from, and the bilge pump turns on more often than it should. So that should take care of that problem. Okay, we got the buckets there, and the nozzle. Now they're off. Next step is 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts. They're gonna come out on both sides. Okay, so I've taken the pumps out on both sides, and they're sitting on the ground. Now I'm going to open this up, replace this blade, so you can see how damaged it is. And what's more interesting is the O-ring inside here is missing completely, which explains why I had no thrust, or little thrust, because water was escaping through here instead of being nicely tight. This one was not as bad, but not in the best shape either. And whoever worked on it before, I don't know why they even put silicone on there, just to give me a hard time to pull it apart. Yep. So upon further examination, I've noticed there's damage over here that I'm gonna have to repair with some gel coat repair and get it so it flows nice and smooth. This side is not as bad, but somebody was bad and sucked something up in here, probably rocks, who knows what, but it took the gel coat completely off and damaged this prop. All right, next step. Okay, next step is to take the bushings, clamps, the carbon ring, the O-ring out. And to start, this part has to be, or it has to slide in that direction. And gotta figure out a way to do it because it's gonna take a little bit of pressure. It's not gonna be all that easy. So we'll get back. Okay, so these clamps, they're a little bit tricky. There are two of them, and they require two different pliers. It's not even just one. And you can't really use these because this is the part that moves. So if it moves, it's gonna be kind of balanced. I don't know if you want this side or one side to be heavier than the other. So I found the two pliers online on eBay. They weren't very cheap, and I ordered them. So when they come in, I guess all I gotta do is pinch here, and that'll come apart. Then I'm gonna be able to reuse them. So instead of buying any other rings, I'm gonna take these off and reuse them. So after a little bit of hammering on this here, I was able to move it. And this is, that's the clip that goes there. Okay. Okay, here are some of the parts that came in. It's gonna help me rebuild the drive shaft and the pumps. I've got the wiring. This is gonna go around the impeller. The impeller goes inside. This is the part that wears off. I'll show you later in my video that one of the pumps is missing this completely. And look how thick it is. And it's rigid. So yeah, I don't know who pulled rocks or whatever in the pump, but that is, one is damaged, the other one's missing. And I've got a new frame ring. This is gonna go in between the pump and the actual tube of the boat. Those two were missing completely. Whoever worked on it did not put them back, so I had to reorder them. Then this is the Venturi gaskets that were not there either. This is the gasket that seals the pump from the rest of the boat, and where it sucks water to send it into the engine for cooling. So those two are crucial, and they were not even there. I've got two epoxy kits to repair the damage on the inside and make the tube nice and round again. I got two of those. Two gaskets that will go all the way where the two cones are, and I'll show you later. The bellows for the drive line, and then the boot that will go by where the drive shaft goes into the flywheel, and then the rebuild kit. This is the actual carbon ring gonna get changed. Then this goes against the carbon ring for seal. This is the seal ring, and then the gaskets and the C clamp. Same thing in this box. Also got myself gear lube. This will go in the cones for the gears. Got a grease gun, and I also ordered some synthetic grease that's going to go inside of the bellows. And here is the three crucial tools that you'll need in order for this repair to actually happen. So this key will allow you to open the impeller. It goes in there. You see how it's serrated exactly like the drive shaft, and then on the other side it has a bolt that you can actually open the impeller with. So you have to get this, otherwise you will not be able to take it off. And then 2 pliers. This will take off the small clamp. And they're expensive because they're actual Sea-Doo pliers that mechanics would use in the shop. And now they're non-existent because they don't work on anything older than 5 years old. And this you can find online on eBay for about $100, which is insane. It's a $10 plier. Anyway, and this is for the big clamp. This was a little cheaper. This I was able to purchase for $40. So that's that. Okay, so here you go. I hooked it up on here, pressed it, and then this thing came loose. Really easy. If you got the right tool, you can do the job so easily. I'll show you more when I pull this out completely. How it was, actually right there. This right here clamped, and that came off very easy. So I recommend you get the right tools. Get this tool, and then when you're done with the job, if you don't need it, you can put it back for sale on eBay for other people to use it. Great tool. Okay, the other clamp came out really easy as well with this. This plier has a flat side and a groove side, if you see it. There it is. So basically what you're trying to do is, here's what I did. The groove part will be up. The pliers will be facing towards the stern. You put it down here. You squeeze it and you twist ever so slightly. I would not force it too much. Just slightly. It goes like click, comes right off. Awesome tool. Okay, so I mixed up a batch of this Marine X epoxy, and I came in here, pretty much plastered it on top of all the damage. It's just a rough draft right now, but I'm gonna sand it down once this hardens up, and then apply another coat, and it'll be just like the gel coat. If you see, you can't see the fiberglass anymore. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna go in that vise, and then remember that key that I bought? This one? I'm gonna attach it to either a socket or some kind of key, and I'm gonna try to get the prop out. So here we go. I got it in a vise, and once you put it in the vise, this should spin freely. Now I'm gonna try to get this and pull it out. But with an extension and the right key, finally came loose. So next step is taking the O-ring out, and that's not the easiest thing to do. Hammering and chiseling away at it. So we got to cut it from here to here, maybe a good 1/4 inch, and then I should be able to take it out. For about 5 minutes, I was able to cut that groove, and now I should be able to pry it right out. Look at that. Half, you know, where the black part of plastic or whatever this was is missing completely, so only the outer ring was left. This was a bad ring. This is what it should look like. It's gonna go in there, and takes quite the force to be pressed back in. But this is what my ring looked like. Now, this was bad. It wasn't just a little bit of wear and tear. This was destroyed. So this is what was causing my boat to pull really hard to the left. This did not have any thrust going through it because the water was escaping. Oil is drained. Now I have 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. Those are gonna come out, and then that's gonna reveal the pump from where I can unscrew it. So I pulled the impellers out last night. It's kind of dark, and I was kind of happy just because I was able to take them out. The right one took a long time to pry out. So just when I thought I was home free and I took them out and I'm going to send them to get them refurbished, I noticed that they're 2 different impellers. Whoever worked on it last time bought and installed the wrong impeller on the right engine. So this is the original one, and this is the one that goes on this boat. And that's the part number ending in 48. The one on the right. If you look at this hub, look how thick it is and look how big the hub is. This one, the hub is very narrow. Therefore, the blade is a lot bigger, more of bite in the water. That's why the engine was going down to 600 or 6,800 RPMs. Correction, 6,000 RPMs instead of my 7,000. And this one was spinning normally. Well, it's pointless to send only one now, so I went online and I ordered 2 brand new ones. So I'll show them to you when they come in. But I guess these are not going to go back on. The new wear rings in. See how shiny it is on both sides. It takes a little bit of force because it has to go very snug on there. You just put a piece of wood and kind of hammer it right down the middle, and then rotate, hammer, rotate, and just keep hammering in until it goes in all the way. And you check over here so there's no space whatsoever. And that's how you know the ring is all the way in. Same thing here. Okay. I took drive shaft out with all the parts. Here they are. The boot. Carbon ring. You can see, especially on the inside, used the seal ring. It's way thinner than it used to be. And worn down. And then the boot with you can see the clamps. There it is. Yep, that's it. Okay. So I mixed up a badge of that epoxy, and I covered up all the damage inside. So now I'm gonna have to sand it down. So what I've done is, remember that O-ring I took out? I've cut a piece off. I'm gonna put sandpaper over it, stick it in there, and I'm going to sand it down, make it nice and even. See how it comes out. About 40 minutes worth of sanding. I am ready for the second coat of epoxy to go on. This is the other, which I am pretty confident is going to make it nice and smooth. So one more time, one more coat of epoxy and one more time sanding, and it's going to be as good as it can get. But it already is starting to look better. Okay, so this is the second coat of epoxy that I put on after sanding once. And I'm going to let it harden out and then sand down one more time, probably with sandpaper 100 and 150 grit after that, smoothen it out a little bit, and then should be ready to go and put the pumps back and the rest. To drain the plugs of oil. Here is one of the plugs. Here's the plug for the other. So this one I marked up because I'm going to send them out. I'm going to send these impellers. I'm going to pull them out and I'm going to send them to get refurbished because mine are discontinued, and the only two that are available still left in stock, they're about $350 each. I'm not about to pay that. Also, I purchased this tool. And this tool, once I open up the cone, is going to allow me to put a socket on it and pull out the impeller. Okay, I'm going to drain the oils, then pull the cone out, and then I'm going to use this tool and my vise, and I'm going to pull out the two props and have them sent out to be machined. So I just got done sanding the second layer of epoxy. It's nice and smooth. Yeah, even though there's a black patch, it's smooth. Here's the other tube, same thing. So what I've done is I started with an 80 grit, then I moved on to 100, then a 220, after that a 320, a 400, and then took it all the way to 1,000. So if you feel how smooth this is, almost like a baby's bottom. And now there shouldn't be any swirls or cavitation from the tube at all. The water should be flowing nice and smooth. Okay, now is on to installing some of the parts. Here's a couple more things I'm going to use. I have a grease gun. I bought a brand new. Even though I have a grease gun, I use it with regular grease, and I didn't want to mix the two. My understanding is that you're supposed to not mix synthetic and mineral. So this is the real Sea-Doo grease that they use. You don't have to buy Sea-Doo, but I found it on eBay really cheap, so I purchased it. It's brand new. But as long as it's synthetic grease, it'll work. Alright, I'm back to installing it. So I fished the drive shaft through. I installed the bellow, the carbon ring, and the two clamps on it. It's still loose, and now I'm fiddling with, I'm gonna have to put the boot in there and the seal ring. I went ahead and I installed the two O-rings inside of it. And put a little bit of synthetic grease so that it slides. And now I'm fiddling with this. So let's see if I can hold the camera to show you. When you take this apart, there's the bottom two that you have to squeeze, and it goes click and it comes off. When you put it back on, it's the top part. It's these guys right here that you have to squeeze. So that's on, and this is how you take them off. Okay, this is the small one. So I hope that helps. As for the bigger one, it's all just squeeze power. The other pliers, just right here, you go click and it comes right off. When you put it back on, you do the same thing. You grab it from the same spot, except when you bring it up to final, you have to press this part. Press down and then let go, and there you go, they're back on. Okay, now I'm gonna look up in the manual. I'm gonna post there's a direction in which this goes because of the rotation of the PTU or the flywheel. It has to be counter. So I'll see if I can find that for you. Okay, this is the new bellow, new boot, new covering, and the new seal ring. And I was able to pull this in that direction. There, you can see it, and put the C-clip back. Just wanted to show you the old one and the new one. So I'm not sure if this comes thicker now or if this got worn off and it's that thin now compared to that. Yeah, and the pliers worked like a charm on these two clamps. Oh yeah, and I gotta find direction and put it for you. Okay, so I'm done on that side. I covered it up, put the protective cover, and now I'm working on this side. I'm about to connect that as well, but I wanted to show you something. In order for you to do that work, I've done one of these things. And about to fit this in, and I just wiggle it till I feel that it's in. There it is. And now I've got this. It's gonna hold it in place, at least till my impellers come in, and I can put them back on. Alright, that's it. Okay, the other side is assembled as well. It only took 30 seconds for this big one, this tool, and 30 seconds to put the small one on. It was really easy, just like I showed you. So I'm done here. Okay, the next step is cone. It's gonna go back in, and not before I replace this gasket. I bought 2 new ones. There's the part number, and then I'm gonna screw this back in with 3 bolts and fill it up through there. Okay, I've installed cones back. Now I am using this Quicksilver Marine lubricant. It's a high performance gear oil, and it's full synthetic. And now I'm filling these bad boys out, and then next step is to install them. All right, finally got my 2 impellers in today, and they are the very last 2 impellers anywhere in the United States or Canada that I was able to find. I called and looked into the network of every single dealer for Sea-Doo available in Canada and in United States, and I found these 2 in the back of the warehouse of Motorcycle Mall in New Jersey, and they're the only ones that had the very last 2. That's the part number 204160048. So it's important to put these on this boat, especially the 1999 model, because what I had on there was one of these that ends in 48 and then one of these, but they're completely different. So this is from a Challenger 1800 a year earlier, 1998. Part number ends in 50. But if you look at the hub, huge difference. This is a small hub, this is a big hub. If you look here, this hub matches that one perfectly. However, this one is way too small for it. So on this prop that ends in 50 part number, the hub is way thinner. Let's see if I can put it, hold this somehow so I can show you. If you look at this guy, it's got a big wide hub. This one has a very narrow one. So that means that this prop has a lot more blade, right? Now I'm not sure about the pitch, but I think it's a little more aggressively pitched as well, because the boat was pulling to the left and this prop was on the right, and it was working way harder than this guy right here. This guy would go up to 7,000 RPMs, stay there, and it was okay. This one, I would punch it in, it would initially go to 7,000, and then it will come back to 6,000 and stay there until the boat planed, and then it'll go back up to 7,000 RPMs. So it was doing too much work to get the boat out of the water. This prop, whoever did work on it, didn't know. So the pumps also go on Sea-Doo, I believe GTXs, on the jet skis. But on the jet ski, if you have a more aggressive pitch, it's not a big deal because it'll punch you right out of the water, no problem, because the jet ski is so light. The boat, they put this specific prop so they can balance the weight of the boat and the power it needed to get out of the water and the top speed. And that's fine. You don't need more than 50 miles an hour on the water with a Sea-Doo, and this will take care of that. But this, it's too much work and the boat wouldn't come out the water in time. So with that said, make sure you put the right part on the correct boat or the correct jet ski. And by the way, I was at some point when I couldn't find them, I was gonna go with an aftermarket like Sola's Concords, but those wouldn't work either. It has a different pitch. The boat would do too much work to get out of the water. It would be fine on a jet ski, but not on the boat. So thank God I found a pair. SBT will have sometimes some of them refurbished, and give them a call. But other than that, I don't know where else you might be able to find these guys. I'm just happy I came across them. Good luck. Okay, I got the impellers in, and just to show you how sharp they are, cut myself. Okay, this is the gasket that goes in between the pump and the boat housing, and that seals where the pump is going to shoot water into the engine. It's going to be this part down here. Next up is going to be the Neoprene ring. That's going to go right here. It has adhesive on the back. I'm going to peel that piece of paper, and that will do the seal between the housing and the boat. Alright, don't forget to pump some grease right into the impeller before you reinstall it. About 3 pumps should be okay. And then it's ready to go up. Okay, don't forget the gasket here on the other side as well. And then the Neoprene ring. And one thing I forgot to do is put this part back in here. So I took this one off and placed them back in. This is the seal to hold the grease inside. Make sure you torque these screws to 24 pounds of torque. Okay, the 4 screws for the buckets, those are going to be torqued at about 16 foot-pounds. Alright, last thing is connect the grease gun to this little nipple right here. Give it 3 pumps of grease or until you see this thing inflating. And that's it, you're done. Okay. Everything is back together and I am ready for the lake. I'll keep you posted and let you know how it